Today I'm talking about perfection. And when I say it's all perfect, I realize how pat and cliche that may sound to some people. But the truth of the matter is, we are all perfect. Just the way that we are and just the way that we are not. Because we are an expression of the divine. An expression of that essence that I call God. It cannot be otherwise. We cannot be separated from it. Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes defined perfection this way. He said, the real state of being, complete, so nothing is wanting, ideal faultlessness, the divine attribute of complete excellence. That's how Ernest Holmes describes perfection. He said, the God mind in me entertains only that which is perfect. The God mind in me entertains only that which is perfect. The perfection of all is more clearly viewed from the micro and the macrocosmic. So when I say perfection on the microcosmic, the little essence of all of it is, and we can see how perfect it is and how totally, completely connected we all are. And then we back up to the microcosm, and we can see the perfection of it all. It's between the microcosm and the macrocosm that things get a little messy. And we lose the perspective of the whole. And yet we know it is all perfect. It cannot be otherwise. So I want to share with you the story of Josh Prager, who at 19 years old was in Israel, taking a year off from after his high school year. And he had everything going for him. He had grown 5 inches in the last year, and he was playing basketball, and he felt just so full of himself, so full of potential. And the night before this incident I'm going to tell you about, he had won a basketball game. And he was on his way the next day to get his trophy of pizza in Israel. And on that trip, he and his team were hit from the back in the microbus that they were riding. And he broke his neck, or his neck was broken. He was immediately paralyzed. And it took him years and years of rehabilitation and struggle and strife to regain some level of mobility. And about 30 years later, he decided that he wanted to meet the man who had driven the truck that hit the minibus that broke his neck. So he traveled back to Israel and found the address of, let's see, I've forgotten that fellow's name. Obed. He went to meet Obed. And he had gone with the anticipation and the expectation and the desire to hear Obed say 2 words. I'm sorry. Well, he found him. He met with him. And Obed said, ah, yes. That that was a terrible, terrible night for me. I broke all of my teeth, and I lost my driver's license for 10 years. But it was directed by God, because I had lived a bad life. And so God had directed me to hit the back of this truck, and it changed my life, and I became a spiritual man. Yes, that was a miserable night for me. And Josh's conversation with Abed was totally about how awful and dreadful that night had been for Abed. Before the accident, Abed had had 28 citations for reckless and careless driving. In his mind's eye conversation, Josh said to him, well, what about your driving record? What about your driving history? He said, yes, I was cited for driving 40 in a 60 in a 40-mile zone. One citation. And he had completely wiped away the other 27 incidents. Josh was absolutely dazzled by the way that Abed had changed and reconstructed the events of his life, Abed's life, and the events of the night that another man had lost his life, 4 other people were seriously injured, and Josh's neck was broken. Abed's interpretation of that incident was totally different than what Josh perceived as the reality of that incident. And I want to share with you what Josh said about that whole evening. He said that we all have different recollections, different perceptions of life. Josh said, problems of the heart hit with a force greater than a runaway truck. Problems of the mind are still greater than 100 broken legs. What he made of this, Josh made of this incident was, it's not what happens to us, but how we respond to what happens to us. And he quoted Viktor Frankl, who said, this is the loss of human freedoms to choose our attention and our attitude in any human circumstance. We all have a choice. We all must learn, and we all must evolve at our own rate and our own speed. Abed apparently had not evolved very well. But that's my judgment, that's Josh's judgment. He says, we all must evolve. The aging and the anxious, the divorced and balding and bankrupt. We can say a bad thing sucks. We can say a bad thing sucks. But this natural world still has many glories. In the end, our mandate is clear. We have to rise above the bad fortune. We have to be in the good and enjoy the good. Everyone can choose to rise above bad fortune. Everyone can choose to rise above bad fortune. To enjoy community, to study, to work, to adventure, to enjoy friendship and love. choice. Prager quoted Melville. He said, "Truly, to enjoy bodily warmth, some part of you must be cold. It is in the contrast that we find the good." And he spoke of stepping on a rock and feeling the cold. Other people might have found that as a negative, but he was thrilled and delighted because that meant that his legs were coming back to life. So in the pain, he was overjoyed. We always have a choice of how we perceive, how we interpret, how we see the perfection. He concluded, "You know death, so you may wake each morning pulsing with life." You know death, so you can wake each morning pulsing with life. So how do we interpret the whole concept of perfection? How do we look at the circumstances and the situations that we judge in this world? How can we look at the circumstances that happen with us and see perfection in it? Ernest Holmes says this. He says, confusion is a condition. It's not reality. Confusion is a condition. It is not reality. So we have our own perceptions. We have our own ideas and we have our own interpretations. And we are always at choice as how we are going to interpret any life circumstance or situation. Ernest Holmes gave this example, and I just think it's wonderful. He says, if you put a stick in a pool of water and then ruffle the surface of the pool, the stick will appear bent. If you put a stick in a pool of water and then you ruffle the surface, the stick will appear bent. It is not bent, however. It is merely a disturbance on the surface. It's merely a disturbance on the surface that causes it to appear bent. If you swim underwater beneath the disturbed surface and open your eyes, you will see a straight stick. The bent stick is merely an illusion. Confusion is a condition. It's not reality. Perfection is always present in the microcosm and the macrocosm and everywhere in between. It's only how we choose to interpret it. And bad things can happen and they suffer. And yet, it's all imperfection. It's a distortion of perfection. Really ugly, awful things happen. But we are always the choice to live a life that is full and rich and expecting the wonderful and the magnificent. Ernest Holmes concluded. So it is with confusion. It exists as a condition, but not as a reality. mirage is in your own consciousness, if confusion comes, take your intellect and dive deep into the pure peace. Through an act of faith, open your eyes, and you will see there is no confusion. Rising above the confusion, you will find the divine. Presence of the divine in all its beauty, all its power, all its peace. How I can be whether I really like it or whether I'm lonely, going to distract myself. I can either play the role as I did, or I can play the role of Josh. I can see myself as a total victim no matter what I'm doing. Or I can see the glory and the joy and the vitality of life. You to see the glory, the power, the essence, the perfection of the allow the power and the presence of the reality of the divine. I allow myself to see the perfection of the truth. Of this amazing amazing life that pulses through all things. Energetic good, energetic good. I hold myself in the center of the body, the forefront of the body. Under all things that I absolutely judge that good or bad. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to live a full, rich, joyful life. To be filled with awe for the divine. To be filled with awe and microcosm and the microcosm. To be entertained and moved and love and in between. I settle myself into the reality of seeing the reality. I acknowledge that there is no truth but the good truth, the divine truth. Perfect.